So I've got some Christmas cards to make, and I just thought I would pop on and try my Facebook page and see if anybody was around and if anybody wanted to have a chat, and basically just watch what I'm doing. So is it Lisa? Hi, I think you're saying yes, you're playing and I can hear. Okay, perfect. Okay, I've prepared quite a lot of the stuff for these cards. So really it's just going to be kind of assembling and a little bit of stamping. But if any of you have got any questions, or if you've got these stamp sets, let me know and I'll just kind of plod on. I'm also using some of the designer series paper, which is also known as DSP for short, and this is from the Snowflake Splendor, all kind of subtle blues and greens really. So you've got things like Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana, Highland Heather, which is the purpley colour, Misty Moonlight is the deeper blue, Pacific Point is kind of like the mid blue, Balmy Blue is the light blue, and you've got Pool Party in here as well. So it's all nice kind of subtle colours really. So the first card that I was going to make is a piece of A4 card which I've cut straight through the middle on the short side, and then you can have this card this way or this way. It's entirely up to you, it's the orientation you prefer. I've cut a piece of the designer series paper that's just slightly shorter than the width of my card. So this is 5.5 by 1 3/4. And the thinking for this one is that I'm going to stick it just on the front of this plain white card. I've already pre-stamped and coloured my gnome from the Gnome for the Holidays, and it's just a fun set this. You've got 3 different gnomes, you've got the little gnome house, and then your greetings for this are: there's no place like gnome for the Christmas season, you're a friend like no mother, a little Christmas wish, which I think is the one I'm going to use, and holly jolly everything. And basically what I've done, I've cut 2 shapes from, which set am I using? Stitched So Sweetly dies. All of these are in our Stampin' Up holiday catalogue, so the catalogue that runs from August to December. And these are the Stitched So Sweetly dies. And as you can see, the varying sizes of stitch scallops, and then you've got some nice label shapes. And I think that, there's 10 dies in this set. So I've stamped, as I say, my little gnome guy. This, from memory, I think is Highland Heather. I must admit, I did cut all these cards up about 2 weeks ago, and I've been meaning to come on and do a live, and just other things have kind of taken over. So from memory, I think this is Highland Heather, because I think, as I said, didn't I, this is one of the colours. Yeah, it is. It's Highland Heather, because this is one of the colours that is actually in the paper. And then I've used 2 dies. So this one is going to be really simple. I'm just going to stick the white piece down directly on top of the Highland Heather. If I can get my adhesive going, let me just move that off. You have to sometimes wind this on to get it going, and then once it's done, you're fine. So I'm going to line this up kind of centrally to the other shape that I've cut. I'm going to stick my designer series paper. I'm not going to stick it too near the bottom, because I want to stamp my greeting, and I don't necessarily like putting things directly in the middle, so I am going to bring it down ever so slightly, so slightly lower than centre. Then I'm going to put this over here probably just popped up on some of our dimensionals, some of our 3D foam, and then just stamp the little greeting here. So I'll use Highland Heather for the greeting because that will then tie in with the paper and the card. So I'll just stamp that down in the bottom right hand corner. I've got my little Simply Chamois just on one side here. This is just a little kind of like sponge foam really, and you wet it, and I keep mine in a little CD case, and then that cleans your stamp, so it's all really simple. So this I'm going to pop up on some of our dimensionals, which is basically 3D foam. It's a wet and windy miserable day here in Derbyshire, so I thought I would, as I say, pop on while I had a little bit of time, because like I say, I have been meaning to do these cards for a while. So that's my first card really. What do you think? Nice and simple. My next card is using the same gnome guy, but the bits on this are different. The designer series paper is all from the same pack, and it's all double-sided. So my thinking on this one was that I'd layer these up onto a white layer rather than putting them straight on the card. And this card will open this way, kind of traditional style. So I'll tell you what the sizes are for anybody that may or may not be interested. So we've got 5.5 by 3 7/8 is for this piece of white paper. And then these I'm thinking that I'm going to stick probably with the snowflakes at the top, and then the misty moonlight, which is the other side of the paper, at the bottom. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap between these two, only so that I've kind of got a similar gap at the top and the bottom. And then I've got this piece of silver. This is like Stampin' Up's glitter card. It's not a heavyweight card, it's more like a paper, but the glitter's lovely because it doesn't come off, it doesn't shed, it's just really nice to use. This is lovely. So I'm going to stick that over the join, like so. Just move my ruler out of the way. And then, as I say, I've got the same gnome. I've coloured his hat in balmy blue, and this is Misty Moonlight. Again, I've used the same sizes of stitched rectangles that I've used on the last card. So again, I think I'm going to pop that one up, and I'll do my greeting on the bottom. Now, because I've got a slightly darker colour card here, I'm thinking I might do the greeting in black, because the actual gnome is stamped in black, so that will tie that in. But just do it in our Memento tuxedo black. Hi, Barbara. Are you well? So I'm going to stamp this down here, bottom right again. Bring in my dimensionals. I'm trying not to listen to the news, I must admit, at the moment, but Corona seems to be closing in on us all again, doesn't it? More and more places are going into lockdown, and Hannah's just been telling me that I think there's going to be another announcement or something in the next few days about maybe a tier 4 and tier 5, which I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to stick all this now onto the front of my card. So I know I've got white on white, but sometimes I just think it looks nice. So that's that card. Again, I've got a piece of Whisper White. I'm trying to stick with all the colours that are in the Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper. So for this one, this is going to be more or less similar style to the one I've just done. Only instead of doing white on white, I've got, I think this might be Gorgeous Grape, which is going to be my layer. I'm still going to do the 2 pieces of designer series paper, and this is just the back of this. I'm still going to use the silver glimmer, but this time, this I think is Highland Heather, and this is the characters from Warm and Toasty. So if you don't know which stamp set Warm and Toasty is, it's this one. And for this one, I've used the stitched shape dies. And these are the dies that you get that have got like the circles, the squares and the ovals, and you get 4 of each shape. There's another simple card. So for this one, I'm going to use Balmy Blue for my base card. So again, my favourite way of cutting my cards, straight through the middle on the short side, Balmy Blue. I've got a white layer, which is 3 5/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm going to emboss it. I'm going to use the Winter Snow embossing folder, which is lovely. I absolutely love this. So I'm going to pop my piece of card inside there. Don't know how well you'll see it, but hopefully you'll see it better when it's embossed. Okay, so that's that done. For anybody that's on here that does normally follow me, on Saturday, I am taking over the Makers Superstore Facebook page, and I'll be doing a autumnal project using shapes from ScanNCut canvas. So if you're around on Saturday, I think it's 1 o'clock, if you go to makersuperstore.com or to their Facebook page, I'm going to be they're letting me loose, and I'm going to be taking over it for however long, an hour or so, and making a project with everybody there. So if you're free on Saturday, come along and join me there. Look at that. That is beautiful, isn't it? I just love how you can take a plain piece of card, put it in an embossing folder, run it through a machine, and you just get this. So that's the deboss. That's the bit that's kind of pushed into the card. Can you see that? And that's the embossed side, the raised side. So that's the side I'm going to use. So I'm going to stick that down, my base card. So that's going to go on there like so. And then what I've done, again, using the Snowflake Splendor, I've cut, where's my ruler? I've cut a piece of the paper, which is about 3.5 inches long by 1.25 inches. And basically what I did, I just cut up the middle with my scissors and then chopped in from the side to give me this kind of like banner effect. And I've done exactly the same with a piece of the silver glimmer card, but the silver glimmer card is ever so slightly longer. It's about 3 3/4, but done the same thing. So my thinking with this one is to stick these down flat, just kind of at the top of the card. Stitch So Sweetly dies that I showed you before, that has the rectangles in, but it also has these like lovely banner shapes in. And then I want to use this little guy from the Warm and Toasty stamp set, which is there, the little cute polar bear on his own, looks like a baby bear. But for one of my cards, I was cutting a circle, and I cut the circle bigger than I needed. I'll show you, it's the next card I'm going to do. So then I decided to cut another circle out of the middle, and that's the circle I'm going to use on the next card. But I was left with this circle frame, and I didn't want to waste it, and I thought that it would work quite well with this banner shape. So I'm thinking that I'm just going to use all this together. So what do you think? I think that's quite cute. So then the next one is very similar, and that's where that last one came from, because as I say, I wanted a circle to put my little bear on, but the circle that I used I thought was too big initially. So I cut this smaller circle out of it, and then I was left with that frame, which I've ended up using anyway. So this one's going to be more or less the same, but the paper is, although it's still from the Snowflake Splendor, it's a different piece to the one I used on that one. And then I think I've got one last card, but this one I actually started, as I say, when I started cutting this paper up, I actually started making this and then thought, why don't I go and do a YouTube live or something with it? And as I say, forgot all about it. Well, not forgot, to be fair. They've been sat on my desk for a couple of weeks, just not really had time to do anything with it. So this one's kind of more or less nearly made, but basically I'm going to put the card this way this time, horizontal. Oh, thank you for the hearts. I'll show you the vinyl in a minute, Barbara. I've got the same paper that I've used here on this one, so the kind of greeny blue. And this is cut at 5.5 by 3 3/4. So I'm going to stick this kind of centrally to the front of my card. And then the back of this paper is this bluey paper. And this was where I'd already made a start. So basically this white layer is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Then I've stuck the piece of Designer Series paper on, which is 4 by 3. And then I've used our blue glimmer card. Now I'm not sure how well this will show up because I've just realised I've not actually put my big lights on. But whereas I've been using the silver glimmer card, this is our balmy blue glimmer card. And these, I think, are 1/2 inch strips, and I've just put them like in a cross, but kind of offset on the front, and I've put my little gnome. And this, I think I'll pop up on dimensionals. That one is going to sit on there. And again, this one, I would probably stamp my greeting inside. So for anybody that came in late, I'm using Gnome for the Holidays and Warm and Toasty. I've used the dies from the Stitched So Sweetly dies and the Stitched Shape dies. And then I used the Winter Snow embossing folder. So let's clear the deck. So that's the first card. Then I've got this one that's similar to that one. I've got the little rabbits and then the gnomes.